Chapter 28, Beating Yourself Up. A favorite pastime of mine used to be beating myself up. Figuratively speaking, that is, as opposed to that famous scene from the film Fight Club in which the protagonist literally beats himself up. Why was I so hard on myself? Because I thought it was the logical thing to do. I believed that the only way to motivate myself to improve was to be tough and berate myself whenever I fell short of my own high standards. This behavior and negative self talk was completely invisible to me. I didn't even notice how often I engaged in it. I wouldn't tell anyone because I believed that if they really knew how much I procrastinated, how imperfect I was, then the cat would be out of the bag and I would lose my job, my friends, and any respect I might have had from those around me. In my innocence, what I hadn't considered was how nobody behaves completely efficiently all the time. Nobody does exactly what they are supposed to do in exactly the way they're supposed to do it all of the time. If I stopped and really thought about this with a clear mind, it was pretty obvious. When I look back at that time, I see that most of the people I knew would not complete their to do lists every single day. Most people I knew didn't prioritize effectively all of the time and didn't have perfect relationships. Most people I knew didn't eat completely healthily all the time. In fact, in every area of life, I could see that there was a full range of behaviors, and I didn't know anyone who was perfect across the board. I'm sure everyone was trying their best, but that best manifested across a wide spectrum of behavior. What I see now is that if I were to go about motivating a young child to do better in life, or encouraging someone who reported to me in a job to be more effective, it would make sense to be kind, patient, and understanding with them. This would be the way to act with someone I was trying to get the best out of. Being really tough, getting upset and angry, withholding love, those behaviors would not only not be the most effective ways to motivate someone, they might be some of the worst. So why was I doing those things with myself? It doesn't make sense until we factor in the whole idea of misunderstanding once again. If I think that I have to do well in life in order to feel happy, complete, or accomplished, then it suddenly becomes really quite important to meet whatever goals I set myself. A byproduct of this misunderstanding is stress, and stressful, urgent thinking, which leads to negative self talk. I can't feel good about myself until I accomplish my goals, so I continue to berate myself until I achieve them, and then find new ones to chase after. However, if I can be okay with whatever results I achieve in life, or even feel wonderful, accomplished, and happy wherever I happen to be in the moment, then there is no byproduct of stress and no need to engage in negative self talk. Now, you may be thinking that this sounds like the road to mediocrity. I used to think the same until I tested it out. What happened was, as misunderstanding fell away, I became more gentle, loving, and kind to myself. And guess what? The more gentle, loving, and kind I was, the more effective I became in every area of my life. It surprised me at first because this was the complete opposite of the way that I had been living almost my entire life. I say almost because looking back to when I was that young boy sharing my sweets, I'm sure I didn't engage in negative self talk, and I seemed to do pretty well back then. Many of my clients are incredibly tough on themselves when we start working together, but they eventually see that this is unnecessary and not the most effective way to live. Often for them, it feels like a huge burden lifted off their shoulders when they realize they no longer need to be so hard on themselves. What do you beat yourself up about? How does your own negative self talk affect your ability to achieve your goals and feel good about yourself? Do you have any misunderstandings in this area? And what would happen if you release them? Ooh, this is a good one, isn't it? I wonder how many people really relate to this. The whole idea of giving yourself a hard time, beating yourself up, and trying to motivate yourself in this kind of way. I wanted to go back to something that really struck me when I was reading it. I'm just searching for that now. Oh yeah, here we go. So this phrase really stood out, which is interesting because it's not, in a sense, connected to the subject material of this chapter, but I think it's a really powerful statement. Kush says this: if I stopped and really thought about this with a clear mind, it was pretty obvious. If I stopped and really thought about this with a clear mind, it was pretty obvious. I really love that phrase, as you can tell. That caught me when I was reading it for you live then. Because a lot of what's being shared in this book, a lot of what I spend time talking about with clients, that word obvious comes up. And sometimes people can hear that in different ways. But when I say obvious, what I really mean is clear. It's clear, actually. When you kind of slow down enough and look at things, it's really quite clear what's going on. And I love that because it makes our job of, if you're a coach watching this, of helping people much easier, because you can really just spend time with people helping them get clear. And when it's clear, it's obvious. It's obvious where misunderstanding is. It's obvious what to do next. It's obvious how to repair a relationship that's gone wrong, or how to let it go completely. So what to do becomes obvious. And what I've seen in my own experience is that the more these misunderstandings, the outside-in misunderstanding, as I call it, the more that falls away, the more that comes off your mind, then the more it just becomes more and more obvious, more and more clear what to do in any given situation. Look forward to hearing your reflections on that, and I'll see you on the next chapter.